Wow.
Wow, this is some really deep stuff.
I don't know what just happened, but something happened inside of me. Something snapped, something.
I wasn't expecting that
either. Sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. It's beautiful.
Monster is like really small, but it had to become that to stop me.
And then the hurt child became present when you mentioned it.
And I didn't realize this until now.
There were things that I didn't remember until now.
Funny. I haven't seen that before.
It feels like I'm the monster. I'm kind of seeing images of things. Of a world where they can exist. This clarity brings all kinds of answers.
It's clear. She hugged me and then went back to her place, I guess, in my heart. Oh, it wants to come out. It wants to bippity boppity boop Cinderella me. She's melted into my chest. It's ooey gooey.
All week been finishing things, cleaning up more, started eating vegetables again last week. And it kind of just started happening. It's almost like I just finished going through a meditation session.
I feel light. When you hit that first joint, in the morning, and
I actually feel a lot more awake.
And I would like to talk about productivity, because I have, and I think this is maybe where I would like to focus in a more long-term sense, at least until I am able to unburden some of the exile or exiles, because it's just a constant struggle with my life. Getting stuff done, feeling like I'm not getting enough done, completely shutting down the moment I feel like I'm not getting enough done, and then literally getting nothing done because I got freaked out about not getting anything done.
Yeah.
And I've been paying attention to the parts involved, and there is an exile I noticed that I've actually noticed before in the past. It's very overwhelmed.
Okay.
And and it seemed inconsolable at first, but then I think I started to realize that it can be consoled by being allowed to de-stress.
Okay. How would you feel about starting with a minute of meditation?
Sounds good.
Okay. I'll set a timer. Okay. So we can start wherever you like or go to any of those parts. I'm very curious about that check-in process that you've been doing, but you also don't need to tell me about it.
I can tell you about it.
Okay.
I don't mind. I've just been, excuse me. I did have some questions that I wrote down and asked parts, maybe twice, but for the most part, I've just been trying to make contact with at least one and really give it a good listen for at least some time. I try to just have a feeling that it noticed me and that it was felt heard. I've just been doing whatever part is stressed in the moment, whatever part is coming up. And this so I started noticing this feeling of stress, of overwhelm, and I think it started when I was just having some frustration with how like tired I've been for like no reason, and it's not like sleepy tired. It's just like, wow, I really don't want to do anything. I feel like every little thing that I'm supposed to do is just like this huge, taxing, soul-sucking thing, and I just want to lie down and get away from it all. So
Yes.
yeah, so I was focusing on that, and sorry, were you gonna say something?
Nope.
Okay. Yeah, and I was just noticing the feeling in my body, and it was in my like heart area, my chest, my shoulders, my neck, a little bit up into my head. And then what happens when I focus on this tiredness and exhaustion is that the more I pay attention to it, the more it localizes and goes to my heart and feels like there's like a bullet that's been shot just through this very narrow area in the center of my chest. And that's when I notice that it's this exile that's very like an inconsolable toddler, basically. That's like just not. I don't want anything. I don't want to do anything. Nothing helps. Like nothing is ever going to be good, and stuff like that. So, and it's just very overwhelmed. And the ones that circle around it are the manager that pushes it, makes it feel overwhelmed, and the protector and the firefighter that just shoots me right off into a state of collapse without being able to even consider what else I could do. It just immediately distracts me, makes me pick up my phone, makes me lie down, etc.
Okay.
I've actually had a lot of trouble getting to talk to the firefighter. I really only notice its behaviors. That's another thing. But the manager I can make contact with, and the exile I can make contact.
So the exile is saying nothing will ever be good.
Yeah, that's one of the things. It was hard to even, because I kept trying to ask it what it wanted, and I would just get like nothing helps.
Okay. That you said that you were unable to contact the firefighter.
Yeah, I find it hard to feel that I'm really in touch with the firefighter.
Okay. How would you feel about starting there as a way to check in with the protectors that are around this exile? Okay. So the firefighter is collapsing. It's shutting you down when these feelings come up.
And it's like hard to see it because when it's active, it's pulling me away from whatever I'm trying to do. So I'm not really able to focus on it because it's always saying like, let's fall asleep or let's go on my phone. So yeah, it's hard to really articulate. Like, I feel like I haven't met it.
Okay. All right. So can you just kind of place yourself maybe in the last time that came up? All right. And see if you notice its energy in or around your body.
Well, the last time it came up was today when I was trying to focus on work. So I'm trying to think, or trying to put myself in that. I knew that I was feeling a lot of dread and anxiety, but I don't know that that's the firefighter. That could just be the manager.
you're trying to focus on work. This part comes up. Did you end up, being blended with it and having, go along with it?
Yeah, I do end up going along with it a lot.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, yeah, what's it feel like right when you're making that, right when it's pulling you in that direction?
Yeah, it feels like I've just almost forgotten what I'm even supposed to be doing.
Okay.
It's like it wipes my brain.
All right. And would you say that feeling, again, like trying to locate it in the body, does it feel like it's up in the head?
Does, I think. It's really hard to pinpoint, but it does maybe feel like a blanking out, maybe like I don't want to say, it's not like a literal dizziness, but it's like the mental version of that. Maybe.
Okay. All right. And right now, how do you feel towards it?
Feel afraid, not of it, but like of what it does to me, because I'm afraid that it sabotages everything that I care about.
Yes.
And yet I'm also aware that it's doing that because I'm putting so much pressure on myself. So it has its reasons, and I do feel some respect for that.
Okay. So there's a part of you that's afraid of the effects of its sabotage?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wondering like when will it stop? What do I have to do to get it to stop?
Yeah. And can you just meet that part and let it know that we'd like to try to get to know this firefighter? Maybe we can find an answer, help the firefighter relax.
Yeah. It doesn't really, it's skeptical that we will find an answer, but I'm not sensing any objections to finding one.
Yeah, it could be right. We might not.
Yeah.
We'll learn something.
Yes.
Okay. So is it stepping back and letting you get curious about this firefighter?
It's still feeling a bit resentful or apprehensive about the firefighter. It's like kind of like like should we really give this one more attention, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm not it's not like afraid of what the firefighter will do if it's given more attention. It's just kind of a petty, like, ugh, we have to listen to this guy kind of like
Yeah.
annoyance.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And of course, you'll be able to decide when you've heard enough from any part.
Yeah,
So,
I don't think this is like a major. I think as Derek Scott would put it, it's more of an opinion than a concern. So.
Okay. Well, thank it for its opinion. And it's welcome to offer any other opinions it has.
Okay.
And now how are you feeling towards the firefighter?
Oh, so I am curious about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also fearful that I won't be able to contact it.
Yeah.
It feels so elusive. Yeah.
It's possible.
Yeah.
So you can welcome that fear.
Mm-hmm.
Let it know you see it.
Yeah.
see if it has anything else it wants to tell you about what its concerns are, if that were the case, if we were unable to contact this part.
Yeah, this one has a lot of fear around the process and getting it to work. And what if I'm like, what if I never get it right? And what if like IFS doesn't work for me? Then I'll be stuck with all my problems. And it's just it's just got every like worry in the book. And it knows that it knows that other parts are frustrated with its complaining and it understands why, but it's just unable to not worry.
Yeah, it really wants you to get it right and
it's kind of a skeptic. It's like, we're not going to be able to contact it. What if parts aren't even real? Even though I do think they are. So.
Yeah. Well, and one way to help it see the power of this work is to do that work with it and just say, well, I see you part. I see you are real. And I have no trouble accessing you.
Yeah. It's kind of like, you can access me, but what if you can't access anyone else? Like, what if you're just like, what if all the stuff that feels like ethereal and hard to grasp is that way because it doesn't exist or because you will never be able to find it?
Yeah. And if that's the case, then we would really want to know that. And if it's ungraspable or if it doesn't exist or if IFS is just a worthless model for you, we would definitely want to know all of those things. And so I appreciate parts like that are showing up and warning us of that possibility.
Yeah, it's like, don't get your hopes up too much. That kind of thing. Yeah, it's seen me try a lot of things to try and help myself and been frustrated. So,
just let it know that all makes sense to you.
It does.
You appreciate its concern.
Sense. Yeah.
And I can maybe even promise it that if I think at some point, wow, this is really not working, I'll let you know too.
Okay, that works.
Yeah.
Yeah, it hopes that doesn't happen. It would be very sad if this didn't work, but
well,
we appreciate that.
Hey, I mean, I'm sure for some people, I don't know. Some people, there's other models out there that might be better for you. And if that's the case, then we want to find that out. So
that's true.
So part feeling any more relaxed?
I think somewhat. Yeah, somewhat.
Like the other one, it's free to jump back in.
Yeah, I guess I can try and go back to the firefighter now. I really would like to meet it.
Okay. So just let that firefighter know that you're curious about it.
Okay.
Let it know you'd really like to meet it. And that it can show up however it wants.
Well, I think I'm putting a message out. I might have managed to poke it slightly. But it's hard to know if I have.
Okay. Are you going back in that place in time again? Like thinking back to
it's almost an invisible place.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly I'm doing something else.
Yeah.
So it's hard to...
You could maybe just ask that question. What am I doing wrong? What do you want me to know about what I'm doing and what's wrong about it?
Oh, yeah. It'll never end if I try to force myself to keep working, then I'll never stop working and I will be miserable forever.
Yes. Does that make sense to you?
It does, yeah.
Let it know that. I'm wondering if the never stop working, I'm assuming that comes from that productivity manager.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can just invite this part to be aware of you and let it know that you've asked those other parts to step back, that you've seen how it's in this battle with this other part, this manager.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the manager has quite a loud voice, so it makes sense that it's hard to deal with.
Right. Okay. Yeah, and you're able to let this part know that?
I think so.
Check with it. Does it feel like you get it? If not, what else would it like for you to know?
I think it feels like I get it, but it's just very hard to tell if it's responding.
You could try asking like what it would like from you in order to help it feel open to communicating with you. Maybe it wants you to be in a different place. Maybe it wants you to not be talking to me. Maybe it has, some different.
Yeah.
Where can you meet it? Just ask it that.
I'm having trouble knowing if this is from the firefighter or if it's the figuring out part, but I'm getting an idea that what it does is dependent on me not noticing and on the manager not noticing. And if it shows itself, then people will know its tricks and know how to spot it.
Right.
And then it won't be able to do its job.
Yeah. And when you learn that about it, what's your response? How do you feel learning that?
I feel kind of like that makes sense. I feel a little bit impressed with it.
That's how I felt when I heard it.
Yeah.
It's like, bravo part.
Yeah. And I feel a little, it's like kind of mysterious. I just feel interested in it. But I think I have, like, this isn't a completely new idea to me. I've had this line of thinking before, and I think before I've also not been quite sure like whose idea it was. But yeah. Yeah, I think it's interesting.
Great. Just see if you can keep extending that to it. Let it know you think it's interesting.
I think it likes that.
Yeah. And if it has some secret tricks that it doesn't want everyone to know about, maybe you could let it know that you'll keep it secret.
Is that possible?
I think so. I think you can keep it secret from other parts.
Hmm.
And you certainly don't have to share anything with me.
Yeah. Hmm. I don't know. I don't know if the manager, even if the manager could step back enough for me to keep any secrets,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that it would. But I don't know. I just don't know. Like, I feel like I'm not in touch enough with these
Fair
parts.
enough.
No,
And I
this
appreciate you not making any false
stage.
promises. So that's very self of you.
Thank you. I think I actually have a part that's like a parts rights activist. It's like, are you being totally honest right now?
Yeah, no, I don't know if that's a part. I think we are parts rights activists.
Well, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. Yeah, we
But
advocate.
I don't think talking to it is off the table just because I might not be able to keep everything secret, though. I think it might just take a bit longer or something.
Yeah. Well, another thing is, we can kind of go around that question and just ask other things.
Mm-hmm.
Like what's it afraid of?
Mm. I'm just trying to place myself back in the mindset.
I was going to throw out some other questions if it would rather answer others.
Yeah, go for it.
How does it like its job?
It doesn't. It wants it feels very what's the word? Like it's very stressed. It's like constantly having to get around all this stuff that's being put upon it and constantly being blamed and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Just let it know you see that. You see how other parts are hard on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm very often blended with the manager, so
yeah.
Definitely it gets a lot of blame heaped on it.
And you could maybe show it appreciation for, if you're blended with the manager, if the manager's running the show too often and this part is, sneaking in and kicking it out, then you could thank it for kind of helping you change gears.
The manager is listening and it doesn't like that.
Yeah. Okay.
But I don't think that's necessarily a bad suggestion, but I don't know that I can authentically say that to it when the manager has its objection.
All right. Well, parts are welcome to object. So hello to the manager.
The manager thinks that it just does this constantly. And maybe we could thank it if it wasn't just like literally just constantly sabotaging every move toward progress.
Okay. Yeah. So it sounds like the manager thinks this firefighter does this constantly. The firefighter thinks the manager is constantly in control.
And the truth is that they're both constantly up.
Yeah.
Because they're at each other's throats. They're so polarized.
Yeah. You could let them know that your goal is to help both of them.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you could offer that prize of, what it might look like to be self-led in those situations, so that neither of them had to work so hard. You could offer, maybe picture yourself kind of between them, and if they were both able to communicate with you and you were responsive to them rather than being blended with them, that they wouldn't, in theory, they wouldn't have to battle for control.
Yeah. And I have presented like a similar idea to them before. There's some excitement about it. There's also like a disbelief. Sometimes it seems like their demands are incompatible. Like,
Yeah.
It seems like they both need to let go of some ground, and that they're not like currently willing to.
Okay. I have two things that came up for me when you said their demands are incompatible. If you don't mind me sharing.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
One is that would be very normal, right? Like we're not asking for them to have compatible demands. They're welcome to be how they are.
Yeah.
And what you're offering is just rather than their edges meeting and grinding against each other, that you could be that central place for their incompatible demands. And you could be the kind of, I don't know, flight controller or leader that is able to just hear those demands. And you have 100 other parts whose demands might not meet with theirs, and that's just it's just normal. So they don't have to get along.
Yeah.
And that's what you're offering, is to kind of be the one that they can go to.
Yeah.
The second thing I was thinking, just real quickly, is that if this is all to do with the bullet in the heart exile, then they might find that they have a lot of common ground in that they're trying to solve the same problem. And a lot of times, 100 problems become one when you're able to find that exile. So you could maybe test that out with them too, of just saying, are we all talking about the same thing here? Are you both concerned about the same exile?
Yeah, there's definitely some excitement around the idea of unburdening the exile and what that would do to the dynamic. And there is some excitement around the idea of the self leading as well. But there's also some questioning of like how does that actually work? Like how does the self just decide like what to do in any given moment, and how can it be ensured that the self isn't biased?
Yeah.
Because my attempts to control things in the past have ended up biased because I'll get blended with these parts.
Right. Yeah. How does the self not be biased?
Yeah. I guess it's by having goodwill for all the parts involved at the same time, which is possible and important, but it's like, how possible is it? And it like in any given moment, because it's possible, but it's not possible to be perfectly unbiased constantly.
Yeah.
And so they're just very wary of giving any ground, like if things aren't going to be absolutely perfect.
Okay. Yeah, and that, I mean, I hear that, and yeah, if you were only able to help out 5% instead of 100%, would that not still be worthwhile? You could kind of check that with them.
It has already been worthwhile.
Yeah.
I've decreased my shame about some of it, but it has been like 5%, and they're
Congratulations.
5%. Well, thank you.
I mean, we've talked 3 times, and you started doing.
But this has also been like I've been like working on kind of trying to address the shame for probably even longer than I've been into IFS. So it's been a bit longer of a road than that.
It has. And you started doing daily parts work like a week ago.
That's true.
High five. And I'm trying not to be so biased of like, well, IFS is the only thing that works. But if IFS is the way for you,
then it hasn't been that long yet.
Then that would make total sense. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
You're winning. I also think that you're absolutely right that you can love all the parts, and that is necessary, and part of it's necessary to lead them all, is to have that compassion towards them all. And I would like to offer that the other kind of half of that, I think, is to know them all. It's the wisdom side of it. That, you don't have all the answers right now because you haven't gotten to know all of them. And so you can just offer that too, of like, well, let me talk to you, firefighter. Let me talk to you, manager. Let me go to this exile. And even if that's all that you're promising them, of like, I'll get to know you, that can create that leadership.
Yeah, that's true. The firefighter does feel maligned, but it's also, we haven't talked a lot. Maybe the more we talk, the more understood it'll feel, and the more say it'll have without pulling its tricks.
See if you can get that manager to step back so you can get back to this firefighter.
Yeah. I'm sensing a bit of excitement from the firefighter at being able to communicate with me. It still does feel faint, like like my skeptical part is skeptical that I'm really communicating with it, but I think I sense something.
Well, also the manager was jumping in, and that it might be more familiar with this firefighter than self is. So the fact that manager showed up could indicate we're on the right trail.
You mean do you mean earlier, or like just a moment ago?
Just a moment ago, the manager jumped in and said, "Yeah, this part's always, taking over."
Yeah. Okay.
And it's okay, what part are we complaining about, manager? Oh yeah, it's this one. It's this one right in front of me.
It's true.
So that's a way in which parts can help point you in the right direction.
That's a good point.
So this firefighter doesn't like his job. It feels maligned.
Yeah, and it's pretty tired.
Yeah. What would it rather be doing with its energy if it didn't have to do this?
Well, it doesn't like that it makes me feel bad all the time about my productivity and my worth and meeting my obligations. So it wants to be able to not have that effect on me. And it may be, maybe wants to just have actual fun instead of forcing me to have like unfun fun of like getting distracted on social media.
Yeah. You could ask what actual fun would look like.
Having like an expanse of time where I don't have to worry about what I need to do. It's kind of obsessed with like having enough time, and it pops up when like even if I have like 2 hours of free time before I have to do something, it doesn't like that I only have 2 hours. Because that feels like a box where I have to keep remembering and thinking, oh, I have to go do this thing in 2 hours.
Yeah.
So
Does that all make sense to you? That
oh yeah. It gets easily stressed. It just wants an expanse of time, but at the same time, when we do have an expanse of time, like it also feels like there's a problem with that because I'm never able to enjoy it as much as I want to.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So yeah, maybe just see what it would look like if it was totally guilt-free. How much time? What are you doing? Ask this part. Just what would it look like?
Yeah, I am. It's like like a Friday. I'm off work, and I'm just doing something fun that I really enjoy and don't feel guilty about and don't have to force myself to want to do. But there's not really a clear idea of what that thing is.
Yeah, I've been there. But, I mean, really, it's having time, wanting to do something fun, and then it's like, wait, what is fun?
Exactly.
Where's my fun list? And which of these activities are actually fun? Which one?
It seems
I
so
can see
easy.
myself doing that thing, but I would have to plan that and like get in the car and like change my clothes.
Yes, the low effort stuff. And I was actually just watching a video about ADHD earlier today about how like the low effort things aren't actually that fun, but the high effort things require a lot of preparation in order to get to the fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the firefighter doesn't want to do that because then the manager's going to step in and be like, you said you were going to practice piano. So like, why aren't you getting out the music? And then that just ruins the whole thing immediately.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then what I do is just lie down, but then that's not actually that fun.
No. Well, you could just let this firefighter know that you're open to discussing it. You're open to finding out more about what it would look like.
There's a fear, and I don't know if this is from the firefighter or not, but there's a fear that I just don't like anything. My brain is broken.
Yes.
Yeah.
You okay with sitting with that for a moment?
Yeah.
So if you don't like anything, that would indicate broken brain.
Yeah. And then I'm just doomed to have an unpleasant life, and everything that's important to me will be a struggle because I don't actually like to do any of it.
And how are you feeling towards the part that has that fear?
A bit scared, but also sympathetic. And there's like a caretaking part, I think, that's going, well, that's probably not true.
Yes, I would ask that part to step back. and see if you can just get curious about this part that's has that fear that you might not like anything, and that would be you'd be doomed. I mean, that would suck.
Yeah, it would. And like, there's, the part is definitely scared, and that, and the fear is more available when the that's probably not true part steps back a little.
Yeah. And are you okay with just listening to it more?
Yeah, it's just like, what if I am different from people? What if I'm worse than other people? What if other creative people are enjoying doing their creativity and I just can never enjoy it?
Yeah. What if?
What if? Like, what if I could motivate myself to do the things I want to do, and I do them all, and I get successful, and I'm proud of myself, but I still haven't had a moment of fun doing any of it. And
that would also suck.
Yeah, and I get my success, but then it's just a slog for the rest of my life to keep producing.
Right. So is that fear of inability to have fun, don't know how, be doomed, not capable, or don't like anything, and then there's also that fear of, well, the opposite really, of putting that aside, doing all the work, attaining all the things, and not having any fun.
Yeah. Never feeling like it's natural, feeling like I just created my work out of sheer willpower, and I didn't feel like a feeling of meaning, like that is meaningful while I was doing it.
When from self, if possible, do you value fun? Is fun something that you can see as a value, that something you would kind of want to look out for in your system or in your life?
Yes. Yeah. Well, I don't even know if fun is the right word.
Yeah.
But maybe the word is meaning, or being engaged, I think. Yeah. Being engaged in what I'm doing in the moment, rather than having to keep bringing my focus back to whatever I'm doing over and over and over, and it being like pulling teeth. Having some kind of flow, continuity. Yeah. I want to be in a flow state.
Check that out with the part that's concerned about not having fun. Like, does that vision, is it cool with that, or is it saying, no, that's not fun?
That is its fear, yeah.
So it's on board with that as great. Yeah. So you could maybe brainstorm with that part, like, what does that look like? When, how? Does it have any input on when you get to be that way? Or what you need, or what parts need to relax to help you get to that place?
Yeah, so it doesn't control that, but it seems like the inner critic might benefit from taking a step back.
Mm-hmm.
Um, hmm.
So when you're envisioning this flow state, the engaged flow state, there's this part's concerned that there's a critic, or sees that there's a critic that's not cool with that.
There's a critic that gets in the way of me following through with any one idea long
Right.
enough, or it changes my work and makes it kind of toothless because I'm scared of how other people will receive it. But that's not the only issue that we're afraid of. But it is one. The other concern is that like I enjoy being good at things, and I enjoy those little moments when the work really comes together, but it's like a fear that I don't enjoy everything that leads up to that, and that like I don't actually just enjoy the process, and I don't and I need to get to a certain point with practice before I
Mm-hmm.
can really feel the flow, but I can't get through that period of practice
Right.
because I can't stick
Right.
with anything.
Yeah. So right now, you have listened to 6 different parts, probably about this subject of what is productivity, what is fun,
Yeah.
what am I aiming for, and it's a big conversation.
It is a big
And
conversation.
yeah, and I don't know, how does it feel for you? Like, does it feel like the right conversation? Does it feel like one that you're willing to have with all these parts? And how do they feel about interacting with you in this way, where they're all giving you their vote, and they're all saying yes, but what about this? It doesn't sound like they're really jumping on each other too much.
Yeah, I think they do trust. I just realized like that's a good sign that they do trust the self at least
That's
enough
right.
not to jump on each other in the middle of
Right.
me doing this, which is cool.
Right. Yeah.
I feel a lot of appreciation about that.
And everything that every one of them has said has made sense. Like,
yeah,
right?
for sure.
None of them have been like, oh my God, that's crazy. Like,
no,
so
I don't think. I don't think so. No.
Right.
No.
Yeah. So there's parts that we're curious about what it would look like, how you could ever get to this place where you could lead parts. This is it. That's true. And they do have conflicting demands.
Yeah, they for sure do. It does feel like an important conversation. Some of them, or at least one of them, thinks that like it's an important conversation, but we've barely just scratched the surface, which is a common complaint in my work with this. And they're just afraid to delve further and find out that my brain is broken.
Yes. Okay. Well, I'm not a brain doctor, but from the IFS perspective that I have, it's working good.
Well, that's good to hear. That does reassure
this is it. This is it. And it takes time. All of these parts,
You're right. You're right. Wow, you're kind of reassuring the skeptic, and I I was in a phase of sort of like for a while talking to one of my friends a lot about parts, and we were kind of like you know giving narrating them and giving them names and stuff, and so I named this one Jerry,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm kind of like, wow, you actually like sort of calmed Jerry down. That's very rare.
That's the skeptical one?
Yeah. Like, are you really talking to parts? Is this all in your imagination? Like
I mean,
just a very concerned, crotchety person.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a dialogue going on. Where that's coming from, you can call it anything. You don't have to call it parts.
Yeah.
And really, that was kind of somewhat arbitrary choice, I think, by Dick Schwartz to say, well, parts, I guess.
Yeah. But he does certainly think that there are distinct beings that, have whole personalities and bodies and all that.
It's how they seem to show up. You could sit with any of these parts and get to know all about them.
Oh yeah, I believe it.
So it's the closest thing I know of to represent whatever this is that's going on, whatever this phenomenon is.
Yeah, and it's weird. I'm not even skeptical about that. It's more just like it's a very typical part opinion of like, well, I'm sure other people can do this, but like, what if it's a fake inside of me for some reason? Like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't actually like make a ton of sense with what I believe about people after reading the book, but it's just the concern that pops up.
Yeah. How would you feel, and how do any of these parts feel about looking to go more to the exile?
Yeah, they're fine with it. In fact, I've definitely spent some time with this exile already and made a little bit of progress with it.
Okay. Would you like to do that now with me?
Sure, if you have the time, I'd be happy to.
Yes, I do have the time.
Excellent.
Thank you, all of those parts.
Yes. Yeah,
I won't forget about them in this very important conversation.
Yeah, I feel I guess pride towards them for doing all this. Yeah, and I can also feel the exile like in my chest. It's like it's not like at a fever pitch or anything right now because it's not like overtly triggered, but it's definitely there.
Okay.
Just a feeling of stress, of being pressed, of like, yeah, just this constant irritability, like this will never end. I'll never stop being miserable.
And are you okay with how it's showing you that right now?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Just let it know that. Maybe let it know that you've seen how many parts are in its orbit, and how strong so many of them are. And that you're here now to just get to know it.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, it doesn't. It's glad to have my attention. It doesn't necessarily think I can help it, but
Okay. And like we said to the other parts, we won't make any promises, right?
yeah,
But we can listen to it.
yes. And I have talked to it. Sorry, I'm just moving rooms because I think one of my neighbors is smoking a cigarette, and I have parts that are very mad about that, so they need to get away from it. But yeah, like when I first made contact with it, it was just like a crying toddler. It was just like, wah, like nothing helps. But I definitely noticed that even when it was throwing that tantrum, it wasn't showing, like it wasn't acting appreciative towards me, but I definitely felt that it felt satisfied and heard by having that attention on it.
Great. Okay. And how does it feel right now for that part to have your attention?
Say that again?
How does it feel right now for that part to have your attention? Just check with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it feels good to have my attention. It's calmed down a little bit even.
Mm-hmm. So, does this still look like a toddler? Have that toddler energy?
I think so. It's it just wants a lot of attention.
Yeah.
Kind of the struggle I've been having is that it does feel better when I give it attention, but I can't give it attention 24/7 because I have to do other stuff, including doing the work, which always triggers it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Maybe ask it how that's been for it. Let it know you really want to get it.
It feels lonely and it feels like a burden for having impossible demands.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And how do you respond to it as you learn that about it?
Yeah, I feel for it because it's in a pretty bad bind because it does like it gets upset whenever I have to ignore it and push through some deadline because of course it does. Like and I don't yeah, I guess I have a part that's worried there's no solution or whatever.
Mm-hmm. We can maybe negotiate some solutions.
Mm-hmm.
Sticking with just witnessing how this part is experiencing this.
Mm-hmm.
What it's been like for it.
Yeah. Okay.
I know in another conversation you mentioned having feelings like that when you were a toddler of being a burden.
Oh yeah, I guess I did.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. It's a thing. Mm-hmm. Oh, good.
Well, you could ask it like what that more than just what that has been like for it, but if it developed any beliefs about itself from feeling that way.
Yeah, there's a sense of like, I need too much.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what I need is impossible to get, and asking for it will only make my life worse. Which I guess makes sense because the first thing I heard from it was just nothing helps, nothing helps, nothing helps over and over.
Right. If it feels right for you, and if it feels right for this part, could you test that out? Could you let it just in this moment try asking you if it trusts you for what it wants, and just see if it trusts you and if that's okay, if that feels right. If it doesn't feel right, don't do it. You don't have to share it with me.
No, it does feel like a good question to ask. It trusts me that it could tell me what it wants, but it doesn't trust that I can give that to it because it thinks no one can. But it at least, it at least believes that I won't shame it for what it wants, which is good.
That is very good. That's a great start.
Yeah.
And you would be happy to hear about what it wants, even if maybe you couldn't give it everything it wanted?
Yeah, I would be happy. I think there's another part that's afraid that once I hear what it is going to be too much, and then I'll know that I'll never feel better.
Yeah. Again, you could put it in a percentage, you know? Maybe you can feel 1% better. Maybe you can help this part. Maybe you can give 1% more.
Yeah.
But again, I appreciate that part that has that concern about making false promises, about any of that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that, I guess it's that part, that part that kind of repeatedly comes up, and it's like, if we listen to this Excel, we'll find out stuff that we can't unsee.
Yeah. And does that feel like a concern that, I mean, do you want to address that more? Does that part feel like it trusts you to do this now, or?
It trusts that I can listen to the Excel at least a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can give it a little bit. And
yeah, great.
It just wants me to wade in slowly.
Great. That sounds like a good idea. So what do you think? Can you turn back to the exile and maybe ask it again to share maybe one thing with you?
Yeah.
That it wants, that it's been afraid to ask?
Well, it wants attention. We already kind of knew that.
Well, if that's the first thing it said, then maybe just stay with that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty common for all parts, really, that's first on their list.
Yeah.
And how did this exile feel in asking you for that? Did it feel safe?
Yeah, I would say so. I think like, since that's something I already knew, like there wasn't really any stakes to
Okay.
putting that out there. Yeah.
Is there more maybe about the type of attention? Can it show you?
That's a good question.
If any time any of this feels unsafe or like not, like this exile doesn't trust you to share any of this, just we can go another direction.
Yeah, sounds good. I don't feel unsafe so far though.
What else do you notice about this part?
It wants. I think the best way I can describe what I'm getting is it just wants to be loved. But I'm still not getting a lot of specifics.
How do you feel when you hear it say that to you?
It makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to describe why or how it makes sense to me, but it just feels like it does.
It's good enough.
Yeah.
How does the idea of loving this part feel to you?
It feels good to me. It feels like, well, it calms the exile down, and so that kind of feels like there's a piece of me that's sort of back that's constantly missing because it's always upset. It wants to be like free to be itself without having to be different.
Yeah.
Which I think is basically what it means to be loved.
It is.
Yeah.
How are you being with this part now?
It feels good. Yeah.
Does it feel
complaints.
close?
Yeah, like not like extremely close, but like there's definitely a connection happening.
Mm-hmm. Would closer feel better?
Hmm.
You could just invite it. You could ask it if closer would feel better.
It would, yeah, it would feel better to it, and yeah, I'm less worried that I don't want to get close to it. I'm more worried that I can't for some reason, or like,
Yeah.
well, no, actually, there is a part.
Mm-hmm.
There's that shame part that's like, excuse me, if you get too close to this exile, you'll get all emotional and that'll be cringy.
Yeah.
This one is like, ew, love, gross.
Yeah. And how do you respond to that?
Well, I responded to that by saying that makes sense because I am this exact same way with, like with other people.
Sure.
Like I have, and like the way that I want to be treated, like when I'm upset about something, like I obviously want people to sympathize with me, but I don't want them to go like, oh my God, you poor baby, let me just give you a million hugs. And so when other people come to me with their problems, I treat them the way that I would want to be treated, and I kind of just like make jokes with them about it, and because I don't want to like do all that huggy stuff because that feels like I'm talking down to them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it can be really hard to to show real love in social situations, right?
Yeah. And I can also pinpoint pretty much where that comes from too, which is that when I was a kid, and even still sometimes, like my mom is kind of like a lovey person, but she wouldn't always know like what I actually needed. So she would just be like, let me just like do everything for you, and like, oh, poor baby, you skinned your knee, and like it was sometimes the caring could be a little tone deaf from her, and so I guess I associated that with just like this cloying vulnerability that I didn't want to be a part of.
Yeah. And you okay sticking with that memory for a moment?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. What was it like? Did you say a lovey person? Like Lovey?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
What was it
yeah.
like for this part to experience a lovey mother? What was it like?
Was,
Just try to stay with it.
yeah.
Stay with the feeling.
There was a feeling of being invaded.
Yeah.
Like she didn't do anything like super crazy, but
Stay with
she
that
just,
feeling if
yeah,
you can, if it's all right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And just whatever part that is that felt that way, let it know you see that.
Mm-hmm.
And just see if you can honor that and validate that feeling of invaded.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, like she wanted to be loving to me, but she wasn't actually paying attention to
Yeah.
what I was asking for or what the situation actually looked like.
Yeah. So see if you can let that part know you see exactly what that was like. Or if it doesn't agree and it wants to show you more, that you're open to that.
Yeah, it appreciates the acknowledgement.
Yeah.
And it's giving me like it's not pushing me away, but it is entrusting me with its negative feeling of cringe.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Of wanting to get away. Like, ew.
Right. And the great thing about this work is that it doesn't obligate you to do anything differently on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, what if you could be that way on the inside, where you could have that real love
Mm-hmm.
without the cringe, without the it seems caring, but you're not really listening to me, without the feeling of the invasion.
Mm-hmm.
Are you in these parts able to see that as a possibility and interested in more of that?
Definitely interested in more of it.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a possibility? Jerry doesn't know yet.
Ask the exile if it feels like you've done some listening.
Are we talking about the cringe exile or the overwhelmed exile?
You tell me.
All right, we can start with the cringe one, I guess.
Ask how you're doing with this actual listening that you know is a requirement for real love.
Yeah, there's a reaction with a bit of hope, like hesitant, but
Yeah, we've only been at it for a few minutes, right? And these parts have been living with this cringe, right? This pain, really.
Yeah.
And feeling invaded for a long time.
That's true. Yeah. There's definitely still a lot of cringe, but there's some.
Yeah.
there's a ray of hope as well, I think.
And maybe test that same question out with the other exile.
Okay. Yeah, that one wants. That one seems to want hugs.
Does that feel okay now?
Like not completely, but
What if you didn't have to say or emote in any way out loud to me? Then would it feel okay?
I mean, they already kind of know that, although it is good to have the reminder.
They know what?
That they don't have that I don't have to tell you what's going on exactly. But
Yeah.
there's still a little bit of hesitance, but it's not like I would still like to keep talking with the overwhelmed exile, I think. Like or connecting with it. And I can offer it like some affection for sure.
Okay. It's good to just, it's what we promised, was to listen to what it wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it doesn't just want to be like embraced. It also wants to be just free to be itself.
Yeah.
And that I don't have to battle the cringe to get to. Although I may have to battle the manager to get to that.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And how do you feel about this entire project? How do you feel about the idea of advocating for this exile, of opening up to let it be free, of continuing this conversation with it, maybe not now, but going forward?
I like it. I like it a lot. It feels like a very important thing for me to do.
Yeah.
And Jerry is like, I hope you can.
Yeah. Good old
I'll
Jerry.
try my best.
I'm watching you do it.
You are. That's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, this does feel promising. This is more connecting them to them has felt more real than it ever has, I think. So it's nice.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
So should we bookmark it here? And
yeah, sounds good. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's really powerful and just awesome to see you going to so many parts, responding to so many parts, not bullshitting any parts, not making false promises.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not letting parts step on each other.
Yeah.
And listening to them.
You're right.
So good job. Let this part know that you'll be back.
Okay. Yeah.
See if any of these parts have any questions, concerns before.
They're excited for the next session and they want to.
Me too.
Yeah. Yes. And they want to keep trying to connect on a daily basis with the little exercise and Yeah, they feel hopeful.
Me too.
Awesome.
Great job.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
All right.
Talk to you next
See
time.
you soon. Bye.
Okay. Bye. Do you want to help bring more self-energy to the world? If you'd like to participate in calls or help out with this project in any way, I'd love to hear your ideas. Join the Discord server or contact me at james@liveifs.com. A huge thanks to our audio engineer, Yvonne, for your care and diligence in editing the calls. To every caller for your courage in sharing some of your parts. And to anyone out there getting to know their internal system, keep going. Who knows, that might be the most selfless, helpful thing you can do for others, and you're the only one who can do it. If you'd like to see us reach the largest audience, we must please the almighty suggestion algorithms at iTunes and YouTube, and they don't care about the power of IFS. They're looking for likes and shares and comments, and the sooner the better. Follow the links in the show notes right here in your podcast player to make your wishes known. And now, a minute of meditation. Or if you prefer, pull over. You can do it in 60 seconds. Just click one of those links. They're right there, and give us a like or a 5-star rating. It would really help. If you think this project is helping people, you're helping people by sharing it. Thank you.